Millions of identical plastic faces, all smiling that same dead-eyed smile, staring from living rooms, discount bins, and now landfills. Funko built an empire on the illusion of rarity, then made so much of everything that nothing meant anything anymore. It was never about the fandom, it was about filling shelves. Now those shelves are empty, the warehouses are full, and the company is broke. The Funko bubble isn't just ready to pop, but it's also suffocated underneath its own packaging. And that sweet chemical smell of vinyl, that is the scent of late-stage capitalism melting in the sun. For the better part of a decade, Funko Pop figures were the IKEA furniture of fandom. Affordable, identical, and everywhere. There was a pop for everything. Superheroes, sitcoms, even a mascot that Coca-Cola forgot they owned. And Funko's strategy was simple. If it exists, license it. If it doesn't, license it anyway. This relentless expansion created a gluttony of products. By churning out endless variants and flooding the market, Funko diluted the uniqueness of its collectibles. What began as a fun, affordable way for fans to own a piece of their favourite fandom eventually spiraled into overproduction of obscure characters that few truly wanted. And when every release is a limited edition, none of them are. It's like trying to feel special because you own a pebble. By 2023, the warning signs were flashing. Demand was collapsing, shelves were groaning, and collectors were starting to ask awkward questions like, why does my living room look like a landfill? In hindsight, the writing was on the wall. The bubble was poised to burst as the consumer interest waned, and the speculative frenzy died down, much like the Beanie Babies craze of the 1990s. In Q3 of 2025, Funko reported $250.9 million in net sales, a 14% drop-off from last year. They went from an $8.9 million profit to a $1 million loss faster than you can say mint condition. The US market, once their golden goose, is now an ex-goose. Retailers are cutting orders, fans have stopped buying, and the only things flying off the shelves are dust particles. In fact, Funko admitted that a challenging retail environment has seen big box stores and specialty shops alike drastically reduce restocking of Funko products, or even cancel orders outright. Even Funko's leadership has pointed to several headwinds behind the downturn. From softening consumer demand for collectibles to psychological fatigue among once dedicated collectors, and higher costs, including rising import tariffs, have all eroded the company's sales and margins. Retail partners worried about excess inventory are no longer devoting entire walls to Funko figures as they did during the Craze's peak. Translation, we made too much plastic crap and now nobody wants it. The company is now drowning in around $250 million of debt, or roughly the weight of all the Funkos that they couldn't sell. Funko has already had to amend its credit agreements twice in 2025 just to avoid breaching debt covenants as earnings collapse. Their SEC filing even warned investors that there's substantial doubt about our ability to continue beyond 2027. In the plainest of terms, Funko might not survive another year without drastic changes. This is a dramatic fall from grace for a brand that not long ago was celebrated as a billion-dollar pop culture empire. In early 2023, Funko faced a choice. Keep bleeding cash by renting new storage for millions of unsold pops, or dump them. They chose dump. They literally bought their own landfill out in Arizona to dump stock into, about $30 to $36 million worth of inventory. Thousands of pallets of collectibles were sent to the dump because it was cheaper than just keeping them. And you can imagine environmentalists weren't thrilled. Vinyl doesn't biodegrade, so those tiny bobbleheads will sit in the earth for centuries, even long after the inevitable nuclear wars. In a few hundred years, archaeologists will unearth the ruins of Arizona and find nothing but Funko Pops of Machine Gun Kelly, and I don't envy them. Effectively sending tens of millions of dollars of brand new toys to a garbage heap is a tipping point. It's not only underscoring how massively Funko have overplayed their hand, but it also dealt a massive blow to the brand's image. At the end of the day, how collectible can a toy be if the company itself regards it as trash? In the face of this predicament, Funko's management is scrambling to find a lifeline. The company has signaled that it will drastically scale back the sprawl of product lines and focus on more targeted, low-cost collectibles in hopes of rekindling interest. For example, they've launched a Bitty Pop, smaller, cheaper, and even more pointless versions of their big-headed toys. And yet, these smaller, cheaper collectibles have earned a spot on Walmart's 2025 top toys list, suggesting some demand. They're also experimenting with pop-yourself kiosks where you can design a Funko that looks like you, as if self-awareness were ever the brand's strong suit. Funko calls these fresh innovations. I call them rearranging the deck chairs on the vinyl Titanic. And in the meanwhile, the company is exploring strategic alternatives, which is corporate speak for, does anyone want to buy into this mess? Funko's board and new CEO have not ruled out a potential sale of the company to a larger entity, property that could stabilize its finances. With $200 million in debt, they are banking on a miracle. What makes Funko's story weirdly poetic is how perfectly it mirrors the economy that birthed it. Hype, growth, overproduction, collapse. It's late-stage capitalism, the action figure. For years, Funko taught people to equate ownership with identity, that your shelf was a mirror of your soul. Now those same shelves are mirrors of regret. The landfill incident wasn't just an accounting decision, it was a metaphor. This is what happens when the market for meaning runs dry. Funko tried to bottle nostalgia, but nostalgia doesn't scale. You can't mass-produce emotional connection, and if you try, you end up mass-producing plastic corpses of it instead. From an anti-consumption standpoint, the bursting of the Funko bubble is almost a moment of vindication. It highlights how unsustainable the buy-it-all hype cycle can be, and how quickly consumer trends can shift from hot to not. The mere sight of Funko Pops filling dumpsters and bargain bins is a stark reminder that mass-produced trinkets hold little inherent value, and that their worth lasts only as long as people collectively agree to desire them. Once that spell is broken, what's left is just piles of plastic. Could Funko somehow reinvent itself and reinflate its fortunes? Perhaps, if it dramatically adapts into something new. The company still has a passionate fan base for certain lines and an enviable portfolio of licenses. A leaner and wiser Funko might yet survive as a niche player in the collectibles market, but one thing is for certain: the era of wall-to-wall Funko Pop dominance is over. The shelves of identical big-headed figures are thinning out, and a cultural phenomenon that defined a decade of geek retail is finally fading. As 2025 limps to a close, Funko's once booming empire looks more like a clearance aisle. Investors are nervous, collectors are done, and shelves everywhere are finally breathing again. The Funko Pop craze will be remembered as the Beanie Babies of the algorithm age, a decade-long fever dream where people mistook hoarding for happiness. Now that the bubble is ready to burst, leaving only landfills, regret, and a faint smell of burnt vinyl. So, farewell Funko, you gave us thousands of smiling faces and plastic pop figures, but somehow not a single one of them felt real.